everyone. You're watching or listening to the horrorfam.com podcast. I'm Lauren Spear, and my guest today is Lauren Spear. Usually, I have other guests on the show talking about horror-related topics. This show happens usually on the third Friday of every month, but due to our recent site redesign and some other factors, I wasn't sure if June's podcast was going to be happening. So I scheduled all our guests for the next few shows to be later, and that left me with no guest for June. But my husband, Frank Spear, suggested that maybe it was time, after 6 years, that you get to know the host. So here I am interviewing myself, but it's not going to be like, Lauren, what are your top 10 favorite horror movies? Well, I'm always going to say The Monster Squad and The Frighteners as my top two, and then the rest kind of vary depending on my mood. I think it's like that for most people, though. I guess as a third pick, I would choose Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, because I've seen that once a year since as long as I can remember, and I'm not sick of it, and I actually enjoy it every time. So if that doesn't make a film a favorite, I'm not sure what does. And as silly and fun that might be, and interesting for me to edit, I'm actually going to be taking a cue from Isaiah Swanson's The Bitter Wolf's show, The Horror Mosaic, and putting up question cards in between me talking, and my husband, Frank, is going to read the questions aloud. And the questions are from Frank and other members of horrorfam.com, AJ Spencer, my dad, Robert Tharp, and just whoever was online when I said, hey, what question should I ask myself? So, most of these are questions that I get fairly often from people anyway, so I think that it's gonna be a good way to get to know me. I'm not used to being the guest. I just sort of let the guests on the horrorfam.com podcast do most or all of the talking, and I enjoy listening to them, and I know that you do too. So I'm gonna do my best. Okay. First question.
Why did you create horrorfam.com?
Well, creating a horror website is something I'd always wanted to do, but I didn't feel like worthy enough, I guess. Like, I grew up in the horror industry and I've always loved horror, but I didn't feel like I had enough to contribute. And then when I got married on April 27th of 2019, I got laid off from my job 4 days later, and that's when my husband said, well, why don't you give it a try? Like, what's the worst that could happen? Build your dream website. We'll take it from there. We'll see what happens. And so the very next day I got to work on horrorfam.com. I bought the domain and started getting everything set up in May of 2019. And then we launched on October 1st of 2019. And that's all I've been doing ever since. And I really wanted to create a place that showed the things about horror that I enjoy, and like how fun it can be and how friendly the people can be. I wanted to make a place that was fun for people who were already fans of horror, and make it inviting for people who were curious but not into the genre yet because I think that horror is truly for everyone, and that if you don't think that you like horror, it's probably just because you haven't found your favorite subgenre of horror yet. Like, there's horror comedies, there's fantasy horror, there's body horror, there's all kinds of horror, and there's all kinds of horror for every age as well. Like, um, I wouldn't show horror to children that are under 5 because their brains can't differentiate between what's real and what's not yet, and that might traumatize them unless, they're in, like, a very special circumstance. Like, for me, I knew that everything was fake because I had, like, touched it with my own hands due to my parents' work in special effects, so I was pretty solid on, like, "Oh, those are my puppet friends from my dad's work," or, like, um, stuff like that, so, um but every other age, there's horror cartoons, and it's just a whole world of, subgenres that you could, get into, and I I just wanted to share that with people and, to grow, sort of an online family of people who, love horror, and I'm very happy that I've been managing to do that so far, so success. I also wanted to create a place where indie horror creators could get more attention on their work because uh, a lack of a marketing budget shouldn't prevent people from living their dreams. So I do my best to retweet and reshare when people nudge me like, "Hey, can you share this?" And 3 times a year, every 4 months in February, June, and October, I do a massive roundup of, like, all the emails that I receive from, indie, filmmakers, feature length and shorts, and video game creators, and novelists, and just sometimes just miscellaneous things. There are some horror albums, and it's been so interesting to meet all of these creators, and if I don't feature them, on in a full length article or here on the show, then they're in the roundup, and that's always it's it's so much work, but it's always so worth it because it makes them happy, and it gives um other people new things to see that they would have probably never seen. So I love doing that, and um I don't charge the indie creators to show up in the roundups because lack of money is usually why they're not being seen in the first place. So um, I do what I can to help, and um, yeah, if you're creating something in the, the horror genre and want more eyes on it, don't be afraid to email me. I'm weird, but I'm not mean. So yeah, email me, lauren@horrorfam.com, and tell me about your project, and I'll try to make sure that it gets seen.
How did you get into horror?
I was born born into it. My parents, Robert and Kathy Tharp, were special effects artists on a lot of the horror movies that you may have loved from the 1980s and 1990s. Um, Beetlejuice, The Blob, Critters 2, um, Halloween 3. Um, yeah, they were special effects artists, and a lot of the movies that they worked on were in the horror genre, and they were also um, painters and sculptors at Dawn Post Studios, the Halloween mask company, um, for over 40 years. And yeah, it's just something that I've been around since birth. And even though they are both happily retired, I still love horror and I'm still immersed in it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Why is it called horrorfam.com and not just horrorfam?
The reason it's called horrorfam.com is because, well, I personally come from a horror family, and I also wanted to build a horror family, and it seemed like the easiest way to get that across. Um, it also, although horrorfam.com is not for kids, try to keep everyone in mind. Um, so whenever there's new, horror films for tweens or teens or that could possibly be good for kids, we try to focus on those quite a bit. And that way, other horror families can have things to show their kids, or people who want to uh, introduce someone to horror who will have like options as well. Like, I did a whole thing on how to easily introduce someone to the horror genre, and especially, tweens, because that's usually the age when kids are like, I really want to watch my first horror movie. And it's like, okay, well, let's do this without scarring you. And um, yeah, it's just our slogan is making horror friendly, but that's just kind of, uh, it's more like making horror accessible, but that just, doesn't have as good of a ring to it. But the truth is, most horror lovers are already very friendly, and it's one of the friendliest communities you could be a part of. It's just, it's a little bit, um, I think that people from my generation, I'm 40, and before, uh, think that, horror is scary and therefore the people who like it must also be scary, but that's generally not the case at all. But um, by making it say, making horror friendly, that kind of helped to ease people who weren't already into horror into the possibility, like, oh, well, this is a place where I can find out more about it without having to be scared. And so it's been really nice meeting people who have um, gotten to know more about the genre and found things that they like because they were able to access it in a way that was comfortable. And that's sort of the family homey feeling that I was hoping to cultivate for everyone. And every time that happens, that makes me feel like, yeah, I did it. And, and so did our other writers. And, yeah. Oh, and, this was actually a question that, Isaiah Swanson asked me when I was on, the Horror Mosaic, in December of 2024. He wanted to know why I always say the whole thing, horrorfam.com, instead of just horrorfam. And, it's because horror fam it belongs to everyone. And, I don't know if you're familiar with, Kitchen Nightmares, but, there was an episode where, a cafe owner was trying to trademark the word hun, and everyone got mad because, just like, "Hey, hun," that's a word that everyone uses and it belongs to everyone. And I didn't want to own Horror Fam. It's not mine to own, but I do own horrorfam.com, so that's why I always differentiate between Horror Fam and horrorfam.com. And I don't know, I guess it's a little silly, but yeah, that's why. And on all of the social media accounts that I run, it's, Love Horror Fam on, um, Twitter, X, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, YouTube, and then again, it's not just Horror Fam, it's Love Horror Fam because we love you. Except on Patreon. I don't know what happened there, but for some reason I couldn't be Love Horror Fam and I couldn't be horrorfam.com, so it's just Horror Fam. And I don't like that, but that's where we are on Patreon, patreon.com/horrorfam. But at least on the title page it says horrorfam.com, and you know now that in my heart I want it to be horrorfam.com and not just horrorfam.
What do you do for and on horrorfam.com?
Well, I host this show. I interview guests on the horrorfam.com podcast, usually once a month. Guests besides myself who are horror creators. And I, uh, I own horrorfam.com along with my husband Frank, and I'm the head editor of horrorfam.com. So every single article that gets posted on the website goes through me. I'm the one who is accepting pitches, and um, I go through and I read everything and I format it and upload it, and I'm the one who finds all the photos for each post. I'm the one who creates every featured image. Um, I am the one who runs all of the social media accounts. So Love Horror Fam on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube, Threads, Patreon. If you see a post on any of those places, that's me. I also write the newsletter. We have a weekly newsletter every Friday. You can sign up for that. It's totally free. It's at horrorfam.com/newsletter. And I edit all of these videos, and any other video that you see on our YouTube channel that's I did those. There's I sometimes do like stop motion animation things with Xander, and that's just me with the camera taking tons of still photos and then stringing them together to make them move. So if you ever see anything that's like animated or painted, that's me. And yeah, every email, Lauren at horrorfam.com is our only email address, and that's me. So I'm replying to every single email. Um, I It's starting to get a little bit more balanced lately, but I'm still the person who writes the bulk of the articles on horrorfam.com. So if you've been on there at any point between, October of 2019 and now, you've read something I've written, or at least seen something I've written. And yeah, I maintain the website. I designed it myself, and um I try to keep it going. uh yeah, I'm probably forgetting some of the things I do, but I feel like that's probably enough.
What was the first horror film to make an impression on you?
Well, that's actually a really easy question to answer. The first the first horror movie and the first movie that made an impression on me was Beetlejuice, the very first movie that I ever saw in a movie theater. was Beetlejuice. I was at the cast and crew screening, because my parents were, both special effects painters for the movie, so, I got to go with them and join the rest of the cast and crew, to see the movie before it was in theaters for everyone else, and, I loved it. Uh, yeah, if you wanna know more about what, my parents, Robert and Kathy Tharp did on Beetlejuice in terms of special effects and see all kinds of cool behind the scenes photos that they took at the time, then you should check out episode 5 of the horrorfam.com podcast. Just go on horrorfam.com and search for Beetlejuice, and you should be able to find it fairly easily. That was back when the show was audio only, before I had a webcam. And, uh, but if you look through the transcript, you'll see all kinds of cool photos and stuff there. So, um, yeah, Beetlejuice was the first horror movie and movie in general that made an impression on me. And yeah, I I always encourage people to go and look at the transcripts because um, I write out a full written transcript for every single episode, and that's where I put in all the other bonus photos and cool stuff for every episode. So if you haven't been looking at the transcripts, you should. They're a lot of fun. You get a lot of extra content by looking at those, and also they're a lot of work for me to type up. So please, please go check go check them out.
Who are your favorite horror actors?
Well, that's kind of a tricky one. Like, most actors who are in horror movies aren't just in horror movies, but I'll do my best. Um, well, Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, um, Matthew Lillard, Jeffrey Combs, Nicolas Cage, and this is a bit biased, but Daniel Roebuck. And um, it's not that they've been in nothing but great movies because they definitely haven't, but they're always the best part of whatever they're in. So I just like if I see that they're going to be in a film that I'm about to watch, I'm like, okay, well, there's going to be at least one good thing in this movie. And yeah, sometimes they are the only good thing in the movie. Um, but yeah, uh, I would say that those are probably my favorite horror actors.
Do you like other horror stuff besides movies?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't read that many fictional novels these days, but I always liked Clive Barker's books, and yeah, I grew up reading Goosebumps, and I had horror pop-up books. And I love the EC horror comics, Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, Haunt of Fear, and some of their new, like those are from the olden days. But I also have been enjoying some of their newer comics. They've been um, making a bit of a comeback, and that's been fun. And the Creepshow comics, those are great. And uh, I also really like horror video games. I'm not always the best at playing them, but um, usually my husband will play them for me in that case. And I some of the stories in the horror games are even better than a lot of the movies lately. So that's always fun. Um, And, I'm really looking forward to the next Resident Evil game coming out. That's one that Frank will be playing for me because I don't have the I just don't seem to have the dexterity to, shoot at things. At least not with the urgency that's needed. I really liked Silent Hill Shattered Memories because that was one where you were just kinda running around and you didn't really have to stop and shoot at any of the things that you were running from. You just had to keep going, and that's more the kind of games that I'm good at, where it's, like, just focusing on one thing at a time instead of having to, like, run and shoot. Like, I can run. I can do at least one thing at a time. Um, and I have played and reviewed some of the indie horror games that have come in, to my inbox as well. There was one, Anglerfish and then, Security: The Horrible Nights, and those were, I had the dexterity for those. So, that was wonderful. That was really fun. And, um, yeah, I I used to collect Monster High dolls. I still have my collection, I just haven't been adding to it 'cause, lack of space and also, that, you know, collecting things takes, funds. But I still have my collection, and it's displayed. They're actually behind this, my podcast bricks here. Not to I don't wanna spoil the magic or anything, but, there's a room back there. And, um, yeah, you know, I like all kinds of horror stuff.
What are your thoughts on horror movie remakes?
I actually covered my thoughts on remakes, pretty well in my interview with Christy Bandy. Uh, but, if you didn't see that episode or, wanted to hear more of my own thoughts, it's basically that I don't always understand why remakes happen, well, other than money, but I'm not completely against them. I'm not completely for them, but I'm not completely against them either. I just, uh, if you're going to remake something, like, don't remake something that got it right the first time. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. What I would prefer is if something with a really good idea that didn't quite pull it off, um, that that seems like, fair game for a remake. That works for me. Or if you take a concept that was done before, but bring something new and different enough, um, to it to make it its own thing. Like, The Thing from Another World from the 1950s is very different from The Thing 1982, and same for The Blob from the '50s and then The Blob from 1988. They're very different. Same idea, same pretty much same title, um, but it's different enough to go, "Okay, yeah, that's its own thing." It's not just a shot for shot rehash of what we've already seen before. That was usually done better the first time around. So, um, yeah, I'm okay with remakes for the most part. I just don't understand the need most of the time. It's like, why?
What's a horror film you'd like to see remade?
Well, when I was writing my list of the horror movies that came out in 1995, I went through and I watched, uh, over 40 1995 horror movies, and there was one that stood out to me as having so many great ideas that I just I ultimately didn't like, which was Out of the Dark from 1995. I thought that it had so many fun ideas and characters that could have been really good, and I just, I kept wishing that it was a better movie. Like, so much of it just, I would say that it didn't age well, but I can't imagine that it was very with the times even in 1995. It's just, a lot of it just kind of falls flat, but it has so many things that it's like, "Oh, this could be so good." So, I guess, yeah, if anyone wants to remake Out of the Dark from 1995, I would go watch it. I know there was another movie with that title, more recently, but it wasn't the same thing, but yeah, I guess that would be my choice. There's probably others, but I I have trouble thinking of things when I'm being recorded. Camera on, brain off.
What's your least favorite horror film?
Least favorite. Okay, one of the things about horrorfam.com is that we usually try to focus on the positives, because it was one of the things that made me wanna create, horrorfam.com in the first place. It's because I noticed that in a lot of, other websites and just movie critics and even a lot of the fans, it was like you need to be angry or negative. Like if you're not, you know, if you're not negative, then you're not deep, or you won't be taken seriously as a critic, or and it's a drag. And I didn't want to be constantly reading, just complaints. It's like, I don't know. It just, I don't, I, it just feels very, I don't want to, it just feels very middle school to feel like you have to be negative about everything to be taken seriously. Like, it's okay to be happy. It's okay to like things. Like, and, um, when I was growing up, my dad subscribed to like basically every movie magazine that there was, and, um, the way that I would kind of figure out like who had opinions on things that aligned with mine is I would, read each reviewer's thoughts and get to know each of the writers and by reading them, not personally, and um form my own opinions based on that because it's like, okay, this particular writer hates everything that I love, so if he hates a movie, then I'm probably gonna love it, and vice versa, like, so, like, "Oh, okay, this guy only likes things that are slow and boring and," so I'm not going to enjoy the things that he likes, and that was one of the things that I wanted to do with horrorfam.com is to have, a set of writers who write something, once a month or so, and then you as the audience would get to know each of us and kinda figure out which of us has the taste that most aligns with yours. Like, some of the things that, um, my fellow writers enjoy, I don't always enjoy, but I know. like, which of their tastes align with mine and which don't, and, um, I'm able to kinda figure out, like, okay, uh, so and so recommended this, but I know that it's gonna be a little too spicy for me, or, something like that, so, um, yeah, we basically write about the things that we each like, um, though that said, um, especially with the huge, list posts, like, when I was doing, like, when we have, like, massive lists of things that are in a certain category, like, my dad recently wrote about he wrote about over 50 Dracula movies for World Dracula Day last month in May, and, um he was always able to find, one good thing to say about each thing, but, we never lie and say that something is completely good when it's not. And I personally, and when I was writing the r reviews of the movies from 1995, there was one movie that the only good thing I could say about it was that the poster looked good. And so, yeah, that would probably be, one of my least favorite horror movies, and, you'll have to read that article to find out what that was.
Do you accept articles from guest writers?
Yes, actually, I do accept guest posts on horrorfam.com, so, even though, it's mostly focused on our main writers that, we've all grown to know and love. Um, I still accept guest posts, and I love working with, writers who, send in their, horror-related guest posts. They're kinda the wild cards, and I like, hearing from new voices and hearing new opinions, and, um, I've been so pleased with the guest posts that have been sent in thus far. And, some of them have ended up becoming regular writers because they just kept sending me guest posts, and I was like, "Hey, you wanna just, like, keep doing that?" And they've been wonderful, and, yeah, I'm always interested to hear from people. If you want to write a guest post for horrorfam.com, just click the "Write for Us" tab on the site, or go to horrorfam.com/write dash for dash us, and, that'll get you there.
Can you tell me more about HorrorFam.com's indie horror inbox roundups?
I'm not sure what else I can say about the indie horror roundup other that I haven't already said, but, well, it happens in February, June, and October, and basically you just have to email me and let me know what your project is. Um, Usually including a photo, if you have one, helps a lot. I prefer horizontal images, if possible, because vertical ones don't work as well on the site. Um, but if a vertical image is all you have, I usually just, you know, layer it on a blurry background so that it becomes horizontal. And, yeah, just write to me, say hi, tell me what's what you're working on, and, um, if it's a film, tell me if it's streaming anywhere, or, if it's going to be at film festivals, or, um, when it's going to be, able to be seen by people, and or, some people have, crowdfunding campaigns that they want more eyes on, so, um, give me the link to that, because I can't share it if you don't share it with me first. And yeah, same goes for books and video games and music. Just tell me what you're doing, and if it's as long as it's legitimately horror related, then I'll share it. Um, yeah, uh, and if you have something that's, time sensitive in the meantime that you need help with, you can nudge me on, uh, Love Horror Fam on any of the social media platforms, and, you know, it's a little bit easier if you give me something to, um, easily retweet or reshare. Because if I have to go through and make an entirely new post from scratch for your thing, it's, that I would love to do that for everyone, but also I I'm already doing quite a lot, on my own for my own horror-related project, and, uh, it's a lot easier, for me, to be able to just reshare what you've already, created, so, um but yeah, don't be shy, like, nudge me and say, "Hey, can you share this? I'm trying to get this project out there, but I need it to be seen, in May when, the roundup is in June," and it's like, "Okay, well, let's get this out there." But, yeah, if you want to be featured on the Indie Horror Roundup, um, write to me, the 3rd Friday of May to be featured in June, or the 2nd Friday of September, for if you want to be featured in October, because that's always the biggest one, and I need a little bit more time to compile all those. And I do leave a little wiggle room for latecomers, but don't take advantage. um, but yeah, and the 3rd Friday of January to be featured in February, and I'll get you on there.
What do people have to look forward to on horrorfam.com?
Well, horrorfam.com updates every single Friday with a new article or video, and you can look forward to seeing more of that. We've been updating every Friday for quite some time now, so I don't see that stopping anytime soon. And usually, there's an Izzy's Eerie Indies from Isaiah Swanson every other month. AJ's Horror Reads happens. That's AJ Spencer. He reviews a lot of the books that come in, um, and Christy Bandy covers a lot of the newer movies. My dad, Robert Tharp, covers a lot of really old movies. It's all horror related. And my husband, Frank Spear, has been writing more often. Last week he did a complete roundup of reviews on every single feature film in the Friday the 13th series. And so yeah, he's been writing more. I do this and write a lot of the articles as well. And we recently started up a newsletter that's free to join, and you get an extra little movie recommendation every Friday. Um, will only be in your inbox once a week, so it's not overwhelming at all. And in addition to all that, something that hasn't been announced until now is for the past few years, my dad and I have been secretly working on a project that we're hoping to unveil uh later this year. Um but it's pretty massive, and it's something that other horror websites have tried to do, and um, they and it it's something that's really cool and would be an awesome resource and very fun. Uh, and I can now that we've been working on this for uh oh gosh, it's going on 3 years now. For so long that I understand why other sites start and then stop when they've attempted to do this. Um, but we're gonna keep going, and I I don't wanna say what it is just yet, but you're gonna like it.
Do the horrorfam.com mascot monsters have names?
Oh, yeah, that's actually a question that I get every time I wear this shirt. Well, uh, where should I start? Um, sorry, things are backwards on my camera, so I'm trying to. Okay, so this is Joan. This is Wanda. This is Xander. This is Tia, which is short for Galatea, which is like a Mad Love reference, and also Pygmalion and some other things. And this is Dan, and this is Warren. And um, this these were all illustrated by my friend Heather Landry, aka Sandpaper Daisy. And basically, I designed Xander and I sent her a drawing of what, I'd like him to look like. And basically, I sent her something that looked like this, but not nearly as well drawn. And she brought him beautifully to life. And she also did the circle logo with Xander's face. Um and then for every other character, I just kind of gave her a vague, like, I'd like a mummy and, creature and tentacle alien and vampire witch, and just sort of, very loosely outlined what I'd like, and then she came up with everyone else. So um yeah, and they if you'd like to know more about them and why they're named what they're named and all that fun stuff, just go to horrorfam.com/about and scroll down to the section on Heather Landry, and there's a little thing there that you can click to meet the monsters, and it gives you more information on each of our monsters and who they are, what they're about, what kind of monsters they are, why they're named what they're named.
And that's all the questions I have for you today. You've been a treat, Lauren.
Okay, I answered all of the questions provided by Frank and AJ and Christy and Isaiah and my dad, and uh, so I guess that's it for this episode. But if you have any questions for me, please don't be shy. You can leave a comment or send me an email or whatever. And if you're an actual person and not mean, I'll be happy to answer. And please come back on July 18th for episode 32. I have a guest lined up for that one, and for the next couple months as well. So yeah, this was a weird one, but thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this, please give it a like. Please subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out a lot. And yeah, thank you, thank you. And yeah, and check in on horrorfam.com every single Friday. There's new stuff there, and it's fun, and you'll like it. And tell your friends, tell your family, tell your horror family, tell your family that you wish was horror family, and thank you. Um, I'm Lauren Spear. I'm at Love Horror Fam on every platform, and yeah, thank you. Bye.